Good morning, December 16th, 2025. The word given was grace. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And His grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. This highlights Paul's humility and reliance on God's unmerited favor, quote unquote, grace, contrasting his past as a persecutor with his present as an apostle, emphasizing that all his effectiveness, quote unquote, labored more abundantly, comes not from himself, but from God's enabling grace, leading to deep gratitude. This is it right here. Transformed identity, quote unquote, sinner to saint. And empowering believers to recognize God's power working through their weaknesses, making them effective witnesses. Exactly. Exactly. Unmerited favor, quote unquote, grace. Paul defines his entire being and calling as a result of God's undeserved kindness, not his own merit. Likewise, transformation and new identity. He was once a blasphemer and persecutor. References Acts 9. But God's grace made him an apostle, changing his nature and purpose. Yes, likewise. Empowerment and effectiveness. God's grace wasn't passive. It actively empowered Paul to labor harder than others, showing that spiritual ability comes from God. Humility versus boasting. Paul takes no credit, yet not I, he says, quote unquote, acknowledging his former state and attributing all success to God's mercy. producing gratitude, not pride. Likewise, application for believers. We, like Paul, are who we are by grace. And God's grace is sufficient and effective in us, making us witnesses and empowering us in our weaknesses. Exactly. That which I used to be, all my weaknesses, God has transformed it. Now they become my strengths. But not by still acting in those weaknesses, but by conquering them. By the Spirit brought forth within me in a higher percentage than the human being, the flesh. The Spirit has now conquered those fleshly weaknesses. And has transformed it into empowerment. How can I stress it and express it? I woke up with a cold shoulder from the cool air, I guess from yesterday. But I'm taking medication and put heat on it. It's a little better now, but if you see me go like that, that's because I can't hardly move it. Okay. That's okay. It's fine. It'll be all right. How can I express it? But I think y'all get what I'm trying to say. Those weaknesses I no longer partake in flesh mentality. Like I said, he helps us to transform by coming more into the Spirit, into our spiritual self, our spiritual being. And then we are now conquerors of our fleshly weaknesses. You see? And that's exactly what has taken place with me. It's gradual. It's baby steps. It's with ease. Because God understands that our human minds would explode. He can't just like, poof, there it is. I mean, he can if he wants to. But because of his loving kindness, he knows we need with ease, but yet consistent, right? But that's exactly, I have experienced this, yes. How does understanding Paul's background, he was a persecutor, deepen the meaning of by the grace of God? That God can take anyone, use anyone, and transform them. No matter your background. Like me. No matter all the mistakes and the foulness and that which I partook in the flesh. I used to drink, I used to smoke, I used to do the hoochie coo, hello. Drink, smoke, and do the hoochie coo. You know, being out partying, you know, and all that was on my, well, when you're in the flesh, your flesh then controls you. Your fleshly desires and wantings is controlling, which I say was controlling me, like I was a smoker. So smoke them cigarettes. You know what I mean? You know, going out to the bars and just sitting and drinking, you know, then driving. Duh. Right? Stupid. I'm talking about myself. And so it's by the grace of God. God's grace. I called out to Him 5 years ago. God, there's something missing. There's a missing link somewhere. And I've been to church. I've been saved and baptized and all these things. But I called out to God and said, God, there's something missing. Give me your truth, not mankind's. And something happened. God did just that. He did just that. And I began to go through tremendous renewal. And even soul searching and dark night of the soul and all kinds of stuff. It's like you go on that, what do you call that? Can't think of it now. You go on that path, the stations of the cross. You actually go to each and every station yourself, with Jesus leading you by the hand in a deep personal revelation, supernaturally spiritual reality. And you begin to transform. And that's what happened to me by the grace of God. What does it mean for God's grace to not be in vain or not be without effect? Because God doesn't do anything in vain. Everything God does is for purpose. He doesn't do anything just because. He does it for divine purpose. How can you apply, yet not I, but the grace of God, to your own struggles or successes? Because I know of my filthiness. And when I went through the stations of the cross personally and heard the voice of God and God's frequency and all that, I saw my wrongs of everything I was doing, and God said, instead of blaming everyone else, mama, daddy, brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles, ex-boyfriends. You know what I'm saying? God says, no, 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 no. Look at yourself. Now see yourself in all of them. They were just like you. Forgive them. They knew not what they do. Just like you. So God said, you take responsibility for you, yet not I, but the grace of God. And He gives us forgiveness to forgive them all. For my own struggles and successes, God is in control, whether you think it or not. God's grace is. God's grace is. What are practical ways to live out His truth daily? In daily communion, when you begin to go through the transformation, your eyes are opened. Not just your physical eyes anymore, but your spiritual eyes open. And so then you see, God allows you to see God's grace, God's existence, and His presence and divinity in everything. He just allows you to be a part of that, and then you are in the flow of God frequency. We gotta put it into practice. Your soul is hungry and it is thirsty. And it needs communion. It needs a relationship with the Creator. To be fed, to be watered. Just like it says about thirst and hunger. Okay? And you set it into motion, and you get yourself into a daily routine with it. And you become like the tree that begins to bear fruit. No kidding. It is exactly that. And you become more aware and more comprehensive to the Holy Word. Like you begin to read between the lines. Spiritually. We are not without sin. We are of the flesh. We are in the flesh, but we are not of the flesh. So we are not 100% free. We are not 100% like Christ Jesus. But we are as much as the percentage as it can be. And you can obtain it more and more. But it takes discipline. It takes consistency and true discipline, honestly. And we got to make those steps. We got to be active in our faith, right? We have to be doers. We have to be seekers. And, but by the grace of God, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. What does that mean? I am what I am. So I am a child of God. I am a replica, is what comes into my mind, of the Word. I am a reflection of I am. And His grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. And that is who we proclaim, and that is who we worship and give praise. Because we can feel the presence. I mean, I can. And I can relate to this. Absolutely relate to this. And how our identity, that about our identity, changing one's nature and purpose. Absolutely. That's what we're all here to do. That's what we're all here to become. Well, man is born broken. Yeah, and that's what another thing that God gave me, the knowing. He said they were all broken, like you were broken. Mom, dad, all of these people, ex-boyfriends, all these people. Man is born broken. He lives by mending. Life is actually a path for mending, a purpose for mending. And the grace of God is the glue. And that was said by Eugene O'Neill. Think about that today. That is exactly what God has revealed to me. Life. We're all born in here broken. We are all here to be repaired, to go through healing, and to be mended, because we fell from God's grace coming into flesh. And now the journey is to get back into God's grace, to the spiritual being. Less in the flesh, more in the spirit. Take care. Have a good day. Happy Tuesday. Peace, love, and light.